From Las Vegas, it's Dry Heat with Mike Davis.
Hello and welcome inside the den here at Fox 5 Studios. I'm Mike Davis. We have a brand new edition of Dry Heat with Mike Davis right now, and I'm joined by one of my favorite people on earth. This guy is one of my go-to gurus, and guess what? This guy, four-time best-selling New York Times author. He's got a brand new book, DaveAsprey.com. It's called Heavily Meditated. He's already cracked the code when it comes to biohacking, how to get abs, how to have all this great stuff from a physical appearance and how to have a body functioning at a high level. But now he's tackling something that I think is super duper important, and it's all about the mind. And Dave, it's so great to have you back here in the den. Dude, just from the beginning, could we talk? I know we gotta talk about the cover here, because look at this. I mean, you're turning 53 this year, and
Yep.
you're telling me this is not airbrush, this is not anything.
Nope. I got off a plane in Miami, went into the studio, and took the shots. I did some push-ups before the shot, to be honest. That's it. And here's the thing. I was a 300-pound computer hacker. The odds of me ever having any article of clothing besides a sock off in a magazine or a photo was zero. And to be able to just comfortably sit there and shoot that without diuretics and all that normal stuff, it's because I finally got my body working, but the body and the mind work in unison.
We're going to be diving into all this stuff. And yes, I think, I want to retrace your steps and give people a little bit more of a history on everything like we did last time. But let's start with this, because I think this is one of the most striking elements to the book that I just started reading. You got to make sure you go to DaveAsprey.com, because coming out in May, you can pre-order this right now. There's so many great additions and experiences and bonuses you can get just by pre-ordering it there. But make sure you can get it everywhere else, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all that stuff. But let's talk about this. You talk about the 4Fs a lot: friendship, fear, food, fertility, all these types of things that constantly drive us from a human standpoint.
Right.
But now there's this fifth F that's entering the mix, and it's called forgiveness. And you think this is just such a critical, crucial part to cracking the code when it comes to our mind. Tell us a little bit about that.
Your body processes reality before your brain gets any signal. So there's about a third of a second where stuff happens in the world and your body gets the signal and it holds on to it and says, what should I make the guy upstairs think about? What should I make him feel? And your body, because it's running very simple things like the same stuff that all life, a blade of grass, a bacteria, a slime mold, a politician, any of those things. So no relation. But okay, what's it going to do first? If something is scary, take action. That's fear, right? And if, okay, it's not scary, the next thing, these are all F words, of fear, then food. Can I eat it? Because that's what a bacteria would do. It's what an ant would do, and it's what the cells in your body would do. And they're all rolling up into your consciousness, but they get to tell you before you get any knowledge of what's happening in the world. So fear, food, the next F word, we're going to call it fertility to be polite. So let's stop there for a second. Is there anything you've ever done that you're ashamed of that isn't one of those three things?
Is there anything I've ever done that I have been ashamed of? I mean, probably not. No.
I've never found anyone. And some like procrastination, it's usually fear.
Right.
So, oh my gosh, there's a separate consciousness running your body to keep it alive as if you're not in there. And it runs on very simple rules. So that's kind of dark, except the next F word is friend. Right. So everyone listening to this, you're wired always. If you're not feeling fear and you're not feeling hunger and you're not feeling loneliness, intimate loneliness there, then you go to your community and you give back to your community. It gives back to you. And if you successfully do that and you have some energy left, then forgiveness is how you go back and you make yourself less fearful. So heavily meditated, it's teaching you how to turn fear into peace. Mm-hmm. And some of my other work teaches you how to turn cravings and hunger into nourishment.
Right.
And there's a chapter in Heavily Meditated that just directly says, look, the stuff we do in the bedroom is a source of energy and nourishment and altered states work, as valid as psychedelics or breath work or anything else. So you can turn what's happening in your intimate relationship into something that transforms yourself. And then you turn your community, if you have one, if not, you can build one, into a source of energy as well. Right. So all of a sudden, make more energy with biohacking, be less afraid, have less cravings, have less porn. And what's left is something really beautiful, because now you take care of the world around you and you evolve. And
It's
that's
a
what
lot
forgiveness
like
does.
it's a lot like that construct we hear when we're on a plane and they say, put on your mask before you help others, before you help the small child, because you have to help yourself before you can help others. But
Correct.
there's a lot we got to dive into here. But the forgiveness thing really struck me, because I think I'm not a forgiving person, to be honest.
Most people aren't.
You know, most people aren't. And maybe, I don't know if it's because of how I was raised, maybe, you know, having grandparents who are Holocaust survivors and having different types of things in our life that just, you know, they're unforgiving types of acts and things. But even on just a stupid level with dating or certain things, there's a lot of times I do not forgive. But I always heard that notion, and everybody's heard this at home, all forgiveness is self-forgiveness. And I just always thought that was such BS. But you're reframing forgiveness in such a great way, because even in the first 30 pages I read of this, I started understanding, yes, this is what I'm talking about. You have a story about your sister stealing from you from a company. And so forgiveness is such a key here, because the way that you're framing it, it's all helping us selfishly from a biochemistry standpoint. So dive into that a little bit.
A lot of people actually get triggered by the idea of forgiveness, because forgiveness is dangerous.
Yes.
Right? If a tiger walks into the room and scratches you, and you forgive the tiger and it scratches you again, you're an idiot. Right? So let's not do that. So your body is saying, I must keep you safe by making you hold a grudge, even when the grudge is costing you enormously.
Right.
So forgiveness is something you do in the body, and you trigger it with the mind. And most of us were told when we were little kids, you know, forgive your whatever.
Right.
You cannot forgive by deciding to forgive. Forgiveness is by initiating a feeling in the body. And I have 10 years of data from working with more than 1,000 CEOs and entrepreneurs at my neuroscience facility that does brain upgrades. So I know what meditation steps will cause people to permanently turn off a trigger. So for instance, an easy way to do this, it's called the reset process, is someone cuts you off in traffic. It pisses off almost anybody.
Yeah.
Right? Well, you can run the reset process. There's an 8-step process in the book. And when you're done with that, the next time someone cuts you off in traffic, you just won't care. It does not matter anymore. You lose all the emotion, all the anger, all the pain. Because what's happening, and certainly what happened with me, even in boardrooms, okay? Someone comes in, they say something, and it pisses me off. But because I'm a rational adult, I go, okay, I'm pissed off. I'm not going to show anyone I'm pissed off, and I'm going to smile, right? But everyone knows it's a fake smile. So what we want is we want our leaders and our friends to be congruent, where your inner state matches your outer state and the way you show up in the world. Most of us, though, we're not forgiving. We're holding on to grudges that aren't doing us any good. And that means that we're constantly triggered by things. Right. And if you can be triggered, it means you're carrying a loaded gun. That's what the words mean. It also means I can control you. So if I can make fun of your diet or how you look or how you drive or whatever, and it makes you go, guess what? I made you go, and I don't think you want to do that. So how do you deprogram yourself so that you get to decide how your body responds? This is why I wrote Heavily Meditated. It's the most important thing ever.
And this is really going to change people's lives, and that's why I think it's so critical. I think you do such a great job as a biohacker. I know you're the father of biohacking. You go check Merriam-Webster's dictionary, and you see, you know, it's Dave Asprey's name is right there, because you really are the guy that started this movement. And it's so fascinating, because I think science, it's such a... For you, in the way that your mind works, you treat yourself as a guinea pig. You put in the work. You do the research, the science-backed stuff. For so many people, it's hard to digest. And you even, in the first 30 pages of this book, you start explaining how our mind works kind of like an orchestra with these, you know, gamma, beta, theta, all these different types of feelings that are kind of like an orchestral sound. And basically this reset process that you're going to put us through is going to have us have a conductor who can manipulate these different waves that are going through our mind, which is such a great... But even the fact that I can understand that, it's like, okay, yes, that makes sense. I think this can work.
It's really weird. Sitting inside our human bodies, the world just doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you look at these ancient practices and then you measure them with science, you realize that they knew something, and that science now proves that a lot of this stuff works and some of it doesn't. So after 10 years of looking at people's brainwaves and saying, well, breathe that way, and try and do this. People come and spend $20,000 a week at 40 Years of Zen. These are CEOs and celebrities to run the reset process and to train their brains to just turn off all that wasted energy every day on being triggered by stuff that you don't want to be triggered by. And I take the exact same process and I put it in heavily meditated because I want everyone to have access to it. It's better if you have my tech team and engineers and electrodes and all that, but you can do this at home. You can do this at home anytime you want.
More Dry Heat after the break. You're watching Dry Heat with Mike Davis.
Let's talk about this. So somebody at home, they love you. They love all the things you've done in the past, right? So now they're like, okay, heavily meditated is out. I've never meditated in my entire life, but I really am on board for what everything Dave is saying. How can I do this? So tell us a little bit about how that works. Because I think there's a lot of people who think, okay, meditation is, if you're, a pop star living in Los Angeles, but I'm just a mom of 4 who shops at Trader Joe's, but could really, I struggle with anxiety. I'm overwhelmed. I have all these feelings. So I just have basic problems of a regular human being, a regular person, a regular mom of 4, a regular dad. What can I do from this book? So give us some examples of how we can, like a tangible thing even right now.
Let's say that you notice there's times, maybe when you're going to sleep, maybe when your 2-year-old is just constantly saying no. By the way, there's a hack for that. Just tell your 2-year-old.
You wrote a baby book too.
I did. Tell your 2-year-old, we don't say yes. And watch their little brain like go into little convulsions as they go, if I say no, then I'm doing what she wanted. And then they'll say yes instead of no. So anyway, but it's really stressful, to be honest, as a parent with 2 teenagers now. Parenting is one of the most stressful things because you just say the same thing over and over. And any adult brain, So how do you get over that? You could say, I'm going to go light some candles and some incense. I'm going to sit down and visualize the Buddha. And then, no, mommy, it doesn't work. So here's the thing. Breath work accelerates altered states from meditation reliably. And in heavily meditated, there's 3 buckets of breath work. One of them is to take you out of stress and overwhelm. And I'll show you that one right now. And one is to be more alert and grounded. And the other one is to go into deep altered states like you've taken some psychedelics.
Okay.
And it's all breath work. Which one's the right one? Well, this is the one that's going to get you out fastest. And science has showed us that if you breathe in, say for 4 seconds, so just breathe in right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hold it for 2, and you're going to breathe out for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You do that 3 times. Having the out breath twice as long as the in breath has a very profound effect on your nervous system. It'll flip you from sympathetic fight or flight out of that first fear word into parasympathetic, which is peace, calmness. It's a big deal. Right?
So it's, and I love the details because the thing is, there's a lot of guys out there who have written books on meditation, 10% happier. A lot of people are trying to do, there's a lot of these meditation books. But the thing is, a lot of times you don't even get the nuggets of just like, hey, you got to breathe out for 8 seconds and you can breathe in for 4. But those, those distinct differences make all the difference, right?
There are at least 50,000 meditation books out there. And they all say very similar things. And I'm not knocking any of the authors. In fact, Dan Harris from 10% Happier meditated with me in my backyard when he did a segment with me on Nightline about me using a cognitive enhancer called modafinil. So I love, in fact, many of these people are friends. The difference is that instead of recycling meditation stuff, heavily meditated, it's new knowledge. It's explaining why your body is doing what it does. And it's rational, and it makes sense when you understand that the body is separate from the mind. And then, yes, there are some types of breath work that have been written about and other things, but it's also, here's the menu of options to dial up the state you want. And the most precious part of the book, you would spend $20,000 up till now for that, and that is the reset process.
Right.
And the reset process takes, about 10 minutes to do. And that's where you find a specific thing that pushes your buttons and you go and you turn that off. It's a very different meditation than the one we just did, which is let's drop you out.
So the first one is more for triggers. You're saying a reset can actually be something like from your past, something you want to uncover.
Let's say that, Susie in high school broke your heart.
Yeah.
Okay. This happens to most people in high school.
Right.
It's the nature of being in high school, right? Most people are still carrying that crap around with them. And you're in a relationship 10 years later, and your partner says something that kind of sounded like little Susie. And without your knowledge or permission, your body starts feeling unsafe. Okay? It's not because you're weak. It's not because you didn't think about it. It's because it's your body doing it. It's not your mind. And your body was so wrecked by your first breakup that it felt like that could be dangerous. Don't do that again. Right? And it stops you from being close to your partner. Right? So maybe what you should do is run the reset process here and go back to what you experienced at that time when you had your first breakup, and you should tell your nervous system that it's okay, so that it won't keep doing that every single time you get close to someone for the rest of your life.
Wow. It's monumental stuff. And that's why that's what's the dichotomy of you is so great, because you have this beautiful duality where you're such a high achiever, you're so unique and different, and just being in your space and in your aura, you're so different. But at your core, you're just like everybody else, and you really understand the plight of a typical guy like me. Like, you really do. Like, that's why I think it's nice, because a lot of times you're tackling meditation, you're tackling these, cloudy ideas that for most people, it's hard to just even understand and figure out a way that they're even going to make an impact in your life. But you really can bring it back and say, okay, these are lofty goals, but they're actually very tangible, things you can implement. And at the same time, they're really tackling the basic human issues that everybody shares.
We all share them.
Dry Heat with Mike Davis will be right back.
Once again, I just love the way your perspective on things is so healthy, because you're a high achiever. You're moving the boundaries on so many things in our life, but there's a lot of imitators and people that try to be like you, but they just are so off by a little bit, and you're constantly coming up with things. So you've stated many times you want to live past 180, right? 180 years old. You want to live past that. Now, there's this dude out here, Brian or something, who's been putting all his, resources and stuff into de-aging and all these things, but you had such a poignant way of really looking at the heart of the matter. And it wasn't like, hey, I want to live past 180, but it's not about not dying. It's not about, trying to evade death. It's more so about living a life where you have the wisdom of age, but you also have your youth in your body and that vitality. So tell us a little bit about the 180 thing. So you want to live past 180. What is that actually like? That you actually fully
I'm serious about that. Yeah.
So what is that actually? How does that come to be? What does that look like? And do you actually think you're going to achieve it?
I want to be clear. I'm friends with Brian Johnson, and we don't agree on everything. I think at some point he's going to be less vegan than he is, but maybe not. Maybe I'll become more vegan again. I don't think so. So whatever. I'm always happy for there to be more voices in the longevity movement, and longevity is a core part of biohacking. And I spent $2 million to reverse my age by 20 years, and that was my big longevity book. So Brian and I have some commonalities, and we also have some differences. The biggest one, though, is energetic here.
Yeah.
There's a story about Mother Teresa, and it might be in the book. I might have cut it out. I don't remember. And in the 60s, some peace activists said, "Hey, Mother Teresa, will you join the rally against the war?" And she said, "No." And what do you mean? And she said, "I'll join a rally for peace, but I won't join a rally against the war. Because when you fight against something, it makes it stronger." This is why when Google, when it was founded, back when they were two guys and two computers, and we were working with them, their motto, "Don't be evil." Well, your nervous system processes that as be evil, and look what's happened, right? And so I believe that if you're saying don't forget your shoes to your kids, they're just going to hear forget your shoes. Right. And that means if you say something like don't die, that it actually has a negative energetic in it. Now, as a computer scientist, I'd say that's ridiculous. I'm very certain that our nervous system, it is a little computer in there, but it's not a digital computer, and it doesn't process the negative very well. So I would just say live as long as you choose with the quality of life you choose.
Yeah.
my real goal, I'd like to die at a time and by a method of my choice. And 180, I think, is eminently achievable and isn't even a stretch. So I said that because if I said I think I could live hundreds of years when I wrote my longevity book about 6-7 years ago, people wouldn't have believed it. But 180, it's very rational. We can do 120 today, and I want to do 50% better. I have AI. I have antibiotics. I can spell DNA, and I know what a mitochondria is. A person who's 120 years old today, World War I was fought with horseback. Like they had a few biplanes.
No, progress. Yeah. Our world has changed a lot. It really is a fascinating thing. Listen, if there's anybody who can do it, it's you.
More Dry Heat after the break.
I love how you're constantly trying to improve, trying to discover. You're an adventurer, and you have an adventurous spirit, and it's such a beautiful thing. Listen, heavily meditated. You got to make sure you go to daveasprey.com. It's going to be so exciting to finally, see what we can achieve where we're using the biohacking, applications that you've taught us for so many years now, but now we're finally going to be able to marry it with the mind. And I think that's going to be such a beautiful thing. He spent 6 months with electrodes on his head. He went to Tibet. He went to Nepal. He went to the Andes. He's spent time with monks. He knows all these great things that we can do to implement and change our life. And guess what? We're going to be able to do it smarter and not harder. And I can't wait for Dave to see me next time.
Can't wait either.
What I'm going to be like. And I think it's going to be a game changer, certainly for myself. And I think for so many of you at home. Dave, thanks for spending so much great time with us. Make sure you go check out Heavily Meditated Human Upgrade Podcast, all the great things Dave does, as well as Danger Coffee. Dave, until next time, we appreciate you being here in the den for Dry Heat.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for watching Dry Heat with Mike Davis. Go to our YouTube page, Silver State Sports, to hear our complete interviews.